Okay, thank you. My name is Sue Brzee. I'm the marketing director here at 2W Technologies. I'll be the moderator from today. Thank you for joining us for this webinar on how manufacturers can use Microsoft Teams. The presenters for today are Mark Jamieson, who is our CEO and president, Randy Cohen,
Sorry about that. And Randy Cohen, who is the Client Success Manager at 2W Technologies. If at any time during today's presentations you have questions, please send them through the question box on your screen. There'll be an interactive Q&A at the end, and we'll get to all the questions then. For those of you who might not be familiar with 2W Technologies, we're a full-service technology firm that specializes in end-to-end solutions for the manufacturing industry. We are both an Epicor Gold and Microsoft Gold partner. We specialize in 4 main areas of business: Epicor, Microsoft for both Azure Cloud and Office 365, security solutions, and IT consulting. For more information on any of our products and services, you can visit us at 2wtech.com. I will now turn it over to Mark to start the presentation.
Hey, thanks, Sue. I'm here with Randy Cohen, and we're going to talk about Teams today, and specifically how real-life applications and how manufacturers can utilize Teams. So Teams is part of the 365 Office suite, and there's a lot of stuff there in the 365 suite. There's OneDrive, and you have Outlook for mail and to-do lists and planning tools. Of course, then there's the big 4: Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and Outlook, I just said, right? And then, but right now, we're going to talk about Teams, and that's the application that kind of brings all of this together, right, Randy?
Correct.
So let's kind of walk through Teams.
Sure. Well, Teams is really the hub of your communication going forward, quite honestly. If people are familiar with Skype, think of Teams as Skype on steroids. There's a lot more things you can do with it. Whereas Skype was kind of that one-off conversation, Teams is, you can use it as a one-off, but you can actually keep a running log of those conversations, so you can always go back and revisit them. And the beauty is you keep it out of the email chain.
Right, we'll talk about that in just a second. So essentially what Randy was saying is Teams is kind of the window into all of these other Microsoft products. So it's OneDrive, so you can access your OneDrives, you can share files, you can manage your contacts, you can manage your meetings, you can make phone calls, you can chat, you can have group file shares, you can share your screens, and then there's a whole lot of other apps and bots and additional functionality. In fact, we just found a new piece of functionality today, right?
Exactly,
and we were prepping for this.
Yeah, we didn't even know it was there until it showed up today. And like, ooh, that's kind of
nice. Yeah, so there's now a OneNote integration into Teams where you can take meeting notes and then share them out through OneNote. So I think we're going to have to update the slide. And as Randy said, really one of the real great tools of Teams is stopping the email madness. So, we've all experienced this where I send out an email with an attachment to 4 people, and I say, please look at this and update it as you see fit. 3 of those people respond back with Rev 2. I then send out Rev 3 to those 4 people again, and then that one laggard sends me back their Rev 2, and meanwhile I'm now on Rev 4.
Yep.
And then we run into and then you get into this this noise at email. And one of the things that we're finding internally what Teams does is it helps reduce just that email noise and those threads and just all that stuff. So it tends to relieve that kind of that burden on Teams. So how do you start a team? So Randy, walk these guys through how you kind of jump in with Teams.
Sure. Well, when you have your Teams app launched, which you can do through your web portal or your Access, or you can download it there on your computer, on your local. You click on Teams and it'll say create a team. I mean, it's pretty much easy that way. And then from there, you add the folks, and it's through their email address that they will, those are the people that you're including to your team. And when you're setting up a team, you can make them all owners, you can make them members or whatever. Ownership has privileges, I guess, because you can add and subtract people. But if it's just a team that, you're going to have X amount of people with this little demo we're going to attempt to do today, those are the folks that you want to have on that team. And that's where you're going to share all your information.
So when you create a team, it does some things within 365. So you create a team, it creates an Active Directory group, it creates an email distribution list, it creates a SharePoint site, a OneNote notebook, and then so it creates all these instances now that you can help take advantage of. And you invite someone to your team. You can create sub-channels for the team, and then you're a way to go. And later on, we'll talk about how to get started. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little role play for you, and we're going to show Teams how you might use Teams in a production meeting. So we have a scheduled meeting. So our scenario is we have a scheduled production meeting that's been scheduled in Outlook, which is now part of Teams, right? And so we're gonna our 2W players for this role play. Sam Plummer is going to be the scheduler. Lizette Flores is going to be the engineering manager, and then Randy is going to be the production manager. And what we're going to do is we're going to join this team. We're going to have a conference call. We're going to share a file. We're going to share a screen, and then we're going to add a participant, very much like what might happen in any meeting, not necessarily just a production meeting, but any joint meeting you have, until the end of you've had from now until forever. For first though, what I want to do is I want to show you Teams. So this is actually my instance of Teams. It's it's fairly easy to navigate. So I like the dark. You can change this color scheme if you like. I kind of like the dark color scheme myself. So all these things on the side is where you access the different pieces of information. You can see the activity that occurs of the teams that you're in. If you just want to see that piece of it, if you want to chat with a particular individual, you can certainly do that. Here's some chat that I've had going on with Sue over the last few days. All of your teams are here, and I'll come back to that in a second. If you want to make a phone call, you want to reach out, here's a speed dial list so you can access all your contacts. As you can see, I have one voicemail here waiting for me that came in a couple of minutes ago. I can access files that have been uploaded and shared to us, and then we can look at our meetings. So here's my schedule for the day. This is actually my schedule for the day. Here's the webinar piece here, and here's the production meeting that we're going to join very quickly. So I want to get into first, though, I want to introduce you to the main Teams channel, which then allows us to see the teams that are all here. So I can look at all of the general chat. This is the dispatch team for our IT help desk. They talk back and forth on Teams here, and as you can see, it holds this. It holds kind of the back and forth of just the basic conversation that these guys have. We have teams for the Epicor consultants. We have teams for our monthly or our weekly stand-up meeting that we have for everybody. This is the actual team that we created to create this webinar about Teams. And that's there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the Teams for the production meeting. And the production meeting is going on right now. I can see that it's going on right now. And it's asking me to join that meeting. So we're going to do that. And we're going to go in as if Randy is joining the meeting as the production manager. So wish us luck. I think we can pull this off.
Golden Globes are on this.
There you go.
Literally was garbage. Yeah. The data and structures and everything were just stupid.
Hey, Sam and Lisette, it's Randy here. How are you doing?
Hey, Randy.
How you doing?
Doing good.
I know you guys already started the production meeting here, but I got a call from a client not too long ago, and that's why I was delayed to the meeting here. And it's Addison, one of our favorite clients. And I hate to tell you this, but they want to triple their order, and it's still the same delivery date.
Okay. So, well, actually, we were just going through looking at our delinquent jobs and what's on time and what's ahead of schedule. And we were just taking a look at one of the jobs we have out there for Addison. So are you talking about sales order 5386 for the 0 SPs that we have?
Yes.
Okay. So the good news is those are on target to ship on Friday as they've been promised to Addison.
Okay.
But by the way, that the quantity on that's 500.
Right.
So are you telling me they're asking for 1,000 additional?
Correct. Yes. And we're not going to say no. So we got to figure out how we're going to appease this.
Okay. Well, the good part is, like I said, we were just reviewing some of our jobs. This one's on the good boy list.
Yeah.
And right now we're on schedule.
Okay.
I also happen to know, because we're looking at material availability, we just got in a large shipment of all the components that go into that 0 SP.
Good.
So inventory wise, we're in a good place.
Okay, well, that's good. Obviously, they can't use all 1,500 on the same day. So, what we have to do, we have to involve the salesperson in here to kind of help massage this through and schedule it, and from a scheduling standpoint, Lisette, we're still good, right? I mean, I'm sorry, you're in engineering. I'm sorry, Sam, we're still good. I mean, we will be able to get it through the equipment.
Well, here, let me show you where I think we're at, and just off the top of the stack, what I think we can do here. So
Okay.
Is it okay if I share my screen with
Sure,
you guys?
that'd be awesome.
Okay.
Hey, while
Alright.
Sam's sharing his screen, are they going to want any modifications to the SP?
As far as I know, there was nothing new as a file. I didn't.
Okay.
So even if they did, it would kind of put a little crimp in it. But I believe it's going to be exactly. They just need 1,000 additional parts.
Okay, cool beans. So those drawings are already updated then,
Yep.
and we're good to go there.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
Okay, so the good news is, as long as there's no changes to the 0 SP as far as a rev level, right here's where we're at on this job right now. And what I'm seeing here is these run through the assembly area. And right now it looks like we've got time on 2 of our assembly benches. And it looks like that job typically runs for a couple of days in assembly. So, and that was for a quantity of 500. So if we drop down here and drop in a couple more 500 piece jobs, we can definitely, we probably can't get those shipped on Friday, tomorrow, but we can definitely get those completed and shipped the first of next week. So if you want to run it back by sales, say, are they okay with an expedited shipment for the additional 1,000 pieces out maybe July 2nd, they can take delivery? If you want to run that by the customer and make sure they're okay with that, we'll go ahead and get things started on our end as far as adding a second release for a Monday shipment on this and get that expedited.
That sounds good. You know what I think we're gonna do? I think we have to call Ken. He's their salesperson. He's got to let them know that yes, we can produce all the parts, but we just can't get all of them there in that time frame. And the extra 2 days would really work. So let's get a hold of Ken, and we'll add him to this call and or meeting really, and say, hey, you have the pulse.
Okay.
Hey Ken, how you doing?
Good. How about you?
Not too bad. Don't want to bust into your golf game, but hey, we just got a call from Addison, and they tripled their order. The 500 we're going to deliver tomorrow. They need an extra 1,000 as soon as possible too. So Sam has worked up a schedule that we can get them done, but they wouldn't get the extra 1,000 until about Tuesday. Is that going to be a problem for them, or can you call them and find out? Is that okay that we expedite it in stages?
Well, my commission check hates it when that happens. But, absolutely give her a call and double check. But I think the way that their production's set up, that'll give them time to get the process started, and we still are going to deliver fairly quickly. I think I can sell that, but I'll give her a call and verify that and give you guys a call back.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, Ken. As soon as we hear, we'll get this order cut and get production started.
That sounds great.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, and that's our role play. Hey guys, thank you so much for helping us out. So what I want to do is I just want to take you back to what we did, right? So we had the production meeting, we had the conference call, we shared the file that had been attached to the meeting itself. That was the production report. We shared Sam's scheduling screen, which happened to be the Epicor product, a little product placement there for us. And we added, we brought somebody in to help clarify it, all relatively quickly, efficiently, and we got to where we needed to be.
Right. Very seamless. Very seamless.
All right. So how do we get started, right? What do we do? So everybody's on the webinar and they're like, okay, all right,
Yeah,
fine.
makes sense, right.
Yeah, well, we'll give it a shot, right?
Mhm.
So how do you get started?
Well, first thing is, obviously, everyone's got their Office 365 license cooking, right? So every license that you get with Office 365 has 5 downloadable instances. Your computer at work, you can do it at home, you can do it on your iPad, you can do it on your phone, which I do because I communicate a lot that way.
Well, indeed, that we saw Ken
Right.
was in his car,
Right.
and he got a Teams call on his
yeah.
car,
Yeah,
and we were able
that
to,
wasn't a cell call to him. That was actually a Teams call to
right,
him.
exactly.
And so, and he was able to join in from there. So what you want to do is like we kind of did, well, we had a canned book before we started, but you want to create that team, you want to create that meeting, and from there is where all the communications are being pushed out.
Right. So find those areas where you're using email instead, right? Instead of trying to coordinate these conversations with emails, start with a team discussion.
Mhm.
So if you've got a situation where you're using email to coordinate meetings or to coordinate information, or you're having this type of a discussion over email, it's a perfect opportunity for Teams.
Yeah.
And so that would be the best place to start.
It is the best place to start because between Outlook and Teams are integrated, so the calendar goes back and forth. It bounces. If you make it in Outlook, it'll show up in Teams and vice versa.
Right.
So it's not like, oh crap, I did it in that one.
It'll go back and forth.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So it'll show up in both areas. And then so here's kind of 10 tips to kind of get cranking, right? So start with chat, right? Create a small group and just chat. Just send a text message. We didn't really show you the chat today, but it's very easy. You type in what you need to know. It goes directly to that person. They respond back to you. I mean, everybody's fairly familiar with that. That process.
It's a very robust text messaging.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. There you go. Right. And then download it to your phone, or download it to your iPad. I happen to actually use Teams on my iPad quite a bit, and so that's so go down, download the appropriate thing. You get 5 instances, so you might as well use it, right? And then once you get used to doing that, let's create larger teams, right? So we have here at 2W, we have teams that are the whole company. We have teams that are just the Epicor consultants. We have teams that are just finance, operations. We had a team to make this Teams webinar. But find opportunities to kind of drive this into your workplace.
Right.
And then customize the channels. So for example, we have teams that we use for clients, and then each client has its own team.
Yep.
And then what we'll do is we'll say, okay, well then I have to, in this case, we would go to the Addison team, right? And everybody who's associated with Addison, we would send out a piece of information, and maybe we'd have an ad hoc meeting for everybody who might be associated with that particular client. Then the other thing you can do is you can start to add applications to it, right? So you can integrate Word, or you can integrate Excel or a website.
Yeah, anything you want. Pretty much anything you can get a hold of, you can put in that team.
So you can access it from that Teams channel, and
Correct.
so can everybody else. So,
Correct.
for example, one of the things that we do here is we have an org chart for 2W Technologies integrated into the general 2W teams. We do that because we're growing pretty fast. We tend to add a lot of people, and so so I want to know who this guy is and who he reports to. I can jump on the 2W team and see that. And then, bring in the important content, right? So in this case, what we did was we uploaded that production report to that team meeting, so everybody on that meeting had access to the appropriate documentation. So, and then, we talked a little bit about resources, websites. You can actually bring in news, performance. If you have dashboards, you can typically bring those into Teams. And make those available. You can email the team. So one of the things that we do here is we have an all hands meeting at 2W, and if you have something that you want to bring up in that all hands meeting, you literally just send an email to that particular email address, and it goes to that team, and then we can all see it. We can all address it. All right, and then help other people get involved in teams. Try to create, find opportunities for teams. Try to encourage other people to participate in teams, because I think what you'll find is once you start to utilize teams, it will create a life of its own. And I've told this story many times, is at 2W, our Teams utilization, and everything's on Teams. I mean, very shortly, all of our phone calls are going to start going through Teams. And one of the things that happened to us was the entire thing started organically.
It did.
It wasn't by decree.
It was Eric.
Yeah, it was Eric who started using it for the Epicor consultants. They started to utilize it, and then the IT guys saw it, and then they started to use it, and then pretty soon I noticed, what the heck's this Teams thing? And then we started to use it, and now it is truly, it's the backbone to our entire communication mode.
Right. Well, in fact, right now, I mean, if somebody calls me internally on the phone, I always tell them, why didn't you call me through Teams?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
It's like, because I have a phone that sits on my desk, and I try not to use it at all, because I don't want to use one hand on it while I'm still trying to do all the other stuff. Whereas with Teams, I can click all the way around and get to where I want to be. Now, the external calling that we do use is an extra add-on to Teams for the
telephony.
Yeah, that word. And I love it. I mean, I absolutely love it, because it does not matter where I am in the world. I can get to a client.
Right. So telephony calls is available on Teams. We're actually migrating to it ourselves internally here. It is an add-on. It's not part of the inherent thing. But everything you saw today is part of Teams. There is no add-on. We showed you in our role play basic stock out of the box functionality for Teams.
All internal calls
are all part of it.
All part of it. Yep.
That's
exactly. You can go back and forth.
That's exactly right. So, I think that's pretty much what we had planned to run you by today. Sue, you want to open it up for questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So if anybody has questions and you haven't sent them yet, there's still time. Go ahead and send them through the questions box on your screen. We'll go ahead and get started. All right, guys, first question. What tools are available to manage the growth and usage of Teams? For example, I'm looking to avoid an explosion of Teams that either overlaps or goes unused and simply add to the corporate clutter.
That's a really good question. And that was actually my concern as well, right? It's just like one more thing.
Right.
So first of all, you can, through the administration tools, you can reduce what.
Yep.
Well, I mean, you can bring in on teams and who can start a team.
Right. Who can start a team? Right. Yeah. And so it's a great thing to. What it does is it actually focuses conversations, real conversations that you're going to have, versus this FYI email thing,
Mhm.
you know, which we all hate. You know,
Yeah.
FYI, it's like, well, do I need to know that? Well, I guess I do. But so with that, you can keep that conversation groove completely there. And like, you know, you were just mentioned about the Epicor. You know, our Epicor consultants use their team
Right.
with the channels, and you don't have to make it a big generic dumping pot for everything. I mean, if you look at the channels within our teams, we actually have them segregated that way
In
too.
fact, you know what? Let me pull that up real quick. So let's look at that. So if I go to the Epicor consultants, these are the channels that they use. And actually there's 4 more that I don't use. So mine are hidden. So keep from the corporate clutter. And where it's, so this is, and so what we've done is what these guys do. They have a general channel, but then they also have the kind of the nuances of what they talk about so they can help keep that down. I will tell you another really nice thing, feature of this though, is you have to renew your team every year.
Yep.
So if you have teams, so I would encourage you to have ad hoc teams. Like for example, we set up a team for our webinar, for this webinar here. Now we're not going to use that team ever again.
But we will get reminded about 11 and a half months from now.
That do we want to keep that team, and if we don't renew it, it will just delete it and move on. So it does kind of clean up its own its own
And I
team.
believe
So
you can go in, you can actually set that distance of time
of when you want it.
when you want
it out. You can hide it. You can move up your favorite teams. I mean, the teams that I showed you on my piece is just a small percentage of the amount of teams that we have. So I think through the admin portal as well as just the natural organization of teams, I think you should be able to
and you can actually add external folks to a team if you need to, too.
Right.
And that's an admin function by the client, because when we do the install for Office 365, we don't do that purposely because we don't want people to accidentally share the state secrets with the world.
Right.
So we leave it up to the admin.
But you could bring in your customers.
Yes.
You could bring in, and they don't have to necessarily be team members
They
either.
do not have to, no.
They can still access teams and chats and things like that if you wanted to invite in your clients.
Right.
So.
And you can share your screen with that person too.
Yeah. So you have that, right.
All right, good. Next question. Does each channel create its own SharePoint, email, etc.?
It does.
It does.
So when you start a team, it creates email, SharePoint. I don't think it creates OneDrive, but you can share.
But if you put a file in there, whoever puts that file in, it will tie back to their personal OneDrive.
Got it. Okay. Yep. And it'll create a OneNote notebook.
Yep.
Which is also a terrific. We could do a whole webinar on OneNote. I'm a huge.
That's
OneNote
for you
fan.
cool kids, you know.
That's right. So that's 365 101B.
Yeah.
Then it creates that. It creates the email address, and you can rename that email address. When you first do it, it's kind of a big long.
It's a string.
It's a string, but you can rename it to whatever it is that you want to name. And then when the emails come in, you can access both the email from the chat log as well as see kind of an overview of what that email is. And sometimes it's an attachment.
Right.
And if you send the attachment in, the attachment will get attached to the OneDrive file.
Yep.
Or the SharePoint file within that team. So.
Yeah, and the beauty is folks who are out there are just thinking about going to Office 365 or already have it. This is what I tell everybody in the CIE, which is a short term for the customer immersion experience. Nobody can break it. So don't be afraid of it. Just go in there because you're not going to get stuck because you can always extract yourself.
Well, and we should say this too. If you are a 2W client and you have contracted for 365 through 2W Tech, you have the opportunity at no additional cost to you to have Randy teach you how to use 365, including Teams. If you've contracted Teams through another organization, we can still offer you that opportunity. We just have to charge you for Randy's time. Sue, what else you got?
Okay. Are there any Teams and Epicor integrations or tips or tricks with using both within a team?
Boy, that's a great question. And so the answer is
Kind of.
Kind of, yeah. And we are actually actively working on bringing in more Epicor utilization and visibility into Teams. So we could create a report, and we could have that report go directly to a team and upload to a team, so you'd be able to access it, not unlike the report that we showed you in our role play. We are we're experimenting with some of the new functionality in it's 10 to 300, I think, is there's some new functionality that we believe we may be able to create an interface so we could see dashboards and things like that. That's currently in the works, so stand by on that, and we will let everybody know when we break that code. But we're working on it.
And Sue, I don't know if anybody asked this question, because I usually get asked this anyway when I do a CIE. In Teams with the channels, Microsoft is working on privatizing the channels, because currently if you do a team, no matter how many channels you put underneath it, who's ever a member of that team gets to see every channel.
So you get those channels under the team, but you can't see. So you'd have to, if you wanted to exclude people from a team, you'd want to create a separate team and not a channel under a team.
Yep,
That makes
exactly.
sense. Okay. All right. What else you got, Sue?
Okay, how can we add someone to a team who wasn't originally a member?
Oh, that's easy.
Oh.
So we go here. We'll just do that right now. How about that? So let's go to that production meeting team, right? So that's the production meeting team that we just did. We'll go to general, right?
Yep.
And then what do I do?
Let's see.
How do I add a member to this team? Where do I go here?
Yep. Right there.
Right there. There.
Add member.
Add a member. Boom. And we'll add we'll add Dave to this team. And we've now added Wabi to this production meeting team. He's not going to know what the heck.
Hey,
it
while
means,
you're here,
but...
let's show him a little couple of things here.
Yep.
Here's files. So go ahead and click files.
Okay.
And in here, you can see that you could have opened it in SharePoint.
Yep.
You can upload files right here. You can do it right here. You can, if you hit new, it's going to say, do you want a new Word document, Excel, or whatever?
So you can create a document.
You can actually
right
create a document right here. You
Right
don't
here.
have to get out and go.
And so in this case, though, what happened was Sam had uploaded yesterday this job status report that we showed you in the role play, and that he attached it right directly to that team.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then on the plus, if you want to click the plus sign so everybody can see it, those are things you can actually add to your team.
These are the applications that we talked about adding to the team. So if you use any of these other applications, you can give access to the team right here in the team view, the overall general team view.
Yeah. So you, quite honestly, like I told you about a year ago, I said, if I put a gun to your head and told you can only use one app out of Outlook or out of Office, which one would it be? You go, Teams? I go, yes, that's the one.
It would be Teams, yeah.
Because that is the one that pulls everything together.
I can honestly say that that I don't know what we did before we had Teams.
I don't know.
Right.
Well, we use Skype and
we use them all, but I don't. Teams has become
and a lot of emails.
It's been a critical part of our day-to-day existence.
All right, ready for another question?
Go for it.
All right, when I create a meeting, can I have other users dial a phone number to join the meeting? Currently, I'm using the microphone from my PC.
You do. So so you have to have conference calling turned on. It's I think it's an extra, depends on what version of 365 you have. So it may or may not be kind of an additional add-on to 365. But essentially, when you create a meeting, you say in your Outlook invite, there's literally an icon that says create a Teams meeting. It will create a Teams meeting, and it will give the people access both to come through Teams as well as to dial a number like a traditional conference call. We use that quite frequently.
Okay. Is there a way to restrict who can create a team?
Yes, you can do that within admin, the admin console.
Yep.
You can just say, these people can create a team and these people can't.
Right. Yep.
Okay. I think you answered this one. Does this replace email?
Kinda.
Replace it can eliminate a lot of email. Let's put it that way. You
Yeah.
know, I don't know if I would say replace.
I think what we've found is it's reduced the burden of email because when we have a collaboration situation or a collaboration event, we don't use email, which if I collaborate with 5 people, I could be generating 50 emails just in that particular collaboration conversation. And by taking that to Teams, it completely removes that burden. And I can go look then at that conversation in aggregate as opposed to trying to scroll through a bunch of emails and the timelines and the subject lines, and then somebody else's subject line is different and somebody's jumped on top of another subject line and answered that question. All that kind of goes away. And the file sharing, all that stuff. So I think for internally, I think our email is, I don't know what the number is, but I would say it's down significantly.
We're down quite a bit. I mean, because we don't use it that much anymore internally.
Internally, no, because it's all Teams conversations.
Right, yeah. And like you said, it does keep it as an aggregate. It coagulates all the files that need to be for that, so you don't have to have all these other things. And the beauty is it's constantly live.
Right.
So it's not like
it's real time.
Did they send me that? When did they? It was like a week ago. You know, you don't have to hunt it down. It's just there.
No, that's exactly right. In fact, here I'll show you guys real quick just an example of that. So here's the team that we used to create this webinar. And if you see, and these were the not ready for 2W players here. Here's all the files that we touched when we started to create this webinar. And so we just put them all here, and they're all accessible here.
And then like that top-notch one, the webinar script doc there on the bottom, I actually created that in Word on my laptop and just saved it to the team. So I mean, it just went right there.
Yeah. So here's a great way. So instead of, I mean, if we had to send these files back and forth, that would be, I don't know, dozens and dozens of emails.
And lots of megabytes over and over and over.
True. What else you got, Sue?
All right, a few more, Estelle. You mentioned that you're replacing your phone system with this. What all is involved?
Oh boy, that's well. Actually, ask me that question when we're done. But essentially, you have to go out and you have to add PSTN functionality to your Teams, which is the availability to dial out through traditional. We used to call them back in the day the POTS lines. So it gives you that functionality. Then we're setting up our auto attendant to be able to work very similar to the experience that you may have now when you dial one of our local lines that we publish. And then from there, it becomes a matter of what do your people want to use for a input device. So one of the things that we're going through right now is what do you want? You want a phone, like a phone? Do you want to use a headset? Do you have need for a speakerphone? Because now all of a sudden all the traffic is going to come through your PC as opposed to coming through your device, whatever your phone or whatever your device, through data connectivity, not voice connectivity. So I would, if I were you, if you're interested to know, just ping me. My email's right there. Just send me an email and give us 6 more weeks because we're hoping to go live August 1st on that. And then I will have all the knowledge and all the scars that and have made all the mistakes so you don't have to on that. So stay tuned.
All right. If conference call is enabled, is there a cost? We currently have an E3 license.
I think conference calling is
part of E3.
Is part of E3. I think all you need to do is turn it on.
Yeah.
And then what it does is then you pick what number you want.
Right.
And so when I, like, for example, when I create a, here, I'll show you this real quick. So when I create a, I got to launch Outlook here real quick. But I will, once this gets launched, I'll show you how I create a, I'll show you what happens when you do that. Here it is right here. Nobody needs to see my email, that's for sure. Oh, look, there's a sales at Kohl's. So if I, let's see, I'll just create a meeting here and show you this. So see, here's the meeting. So if I want to create a team meeting, and I have this.
And this is an Outlook too, by the way.
This is Outlook. Yeah, this is Outlook. And I have this icon here that says team meeting. And when I create that team meeting, it sticks this at the bottom. And this is actually a link to join that meeting. And here's the numbers in the conference ID number that you would put in to join if you wanted to join that particular meeting. But I think it's just I think you just have to turn it on. And if you want some help with that, just drop us a help desk at helpdesk@2wtech.com, and we can help you navigate to how to turn on conference calling.
All right, I think this is your final question, unless we get another one while you're answering this one. Are there any limitations I need to be aware of when using Teams?
Boy, can that question be a little more specific?
Well, I think from limitations, I think there is a, I mean, I guess it's the discipline of your people really, right, to utilize it, where you might fall down. I think it's not, if you don't have telephony calling turned on, you can't utilize that piece, but you can utilize all the calling features that, again, the little role play we showed you earlier was in fact right out of the box functionality. There was no additional stuff needed on that. So, but there's new features added almost weekly.
They just happen.
Yeah, they just turn on. You're like, oh, hey, look at this. So probably not really. There's not a lot of limitations. I think it's just it's just the discipline. It's like anything else, right? It's any new tool. It's how you use it and how you decide to use it internally. But
if they're out there, we haven't found them yet.
Yeah, I would suggest though that is, again, I say this because we started organically, so there was really no corporate directive to use this. I would let your people go. I wouldn't try to control it. I would go in the complete opposite direction and let your employees and let your people find the utilizations for Teams and where they go. And I know that's a little wild west for a lot of folks, but I would go in the other direction as opposed to high control. I would kind of just let them go because they're not going to break it.
Right, they're not going to break it. And and that's the beauty of the whole thing. I mean, the whole Office suite.
Right.
You just can't. You showed these folks here how to do this through Outlook, and if you were to make that team, it would actually show up in your Teams application, showing you here's your your meeting. So they go back and forth.
Just like I did when I was showing the interface.
All right, well, that's all the questions. Thank you very much, guys. If anybody requires any follow-up information, or if you'd like to request the recording of today's webinar, please reply to one of the GoToMeeting webinars and I can help you out with that. Or Mark or Randy's information is up on the screen and they would be happy to answer any questions as well. So thanks again, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day, and that concludes today's event.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.